All right, so Kathy Hochul has decided that she's going to put 1,000 National Guard troops to check bags in the New York City subway system. Wow, that's wonderful. Crime in the subway is up 45% year on year. 45% increase. Okay, so that's probably not, really great. So she sends in 750 uniformed National Guard soldiers with orders to search bags for weapons and other dangerous stuff. So, isn't that stop and frisk, Stu? I think that is. So you have the National Guard in the subways of New York. I don't know if you know this, but the National Guard comes with big weapons and uniforms. So they're in our subways, and that's going to help on crime by showing a military presence in New York. The first time I ever saw military presence in the United States off of a base was in New York right after 9/11. And there was martial law in the lower part of Manhattan. You didn't go in or out. And there were Humvees, and everybody was in uniform and had a machine gun. It was ugly. It was ugly. And it was so disturbing to see that on the streets of America. I'd never seen it before. I don't know if people are just used to seeing this in New York. I know they wouldn't elsewhere, but we're not used to seeing the military policing in New York. So they are going to be in the subways. And she says that's going to help, with crime in the subways. Okay, well, there's another way to do that. I don't know if she's thought of this. Listen to this story. 4 people were arrested in connection to 3 incidents of human remains being found on Long Island. Okay, this is just outside of New York City. Police made the arrest after performing a search warrant on an apartment in Amityville shared by 3 of the suspects, 40-year-old Amanda Wallace, 44-year-old Stephen Brown, 38-year-old Jeffrey Mackey. Investigations say they found human remains and cutting tools, including a used meat cleaver. A 4th suspect was also identified as 33-year-old Alexis Neves, a homeless woman. Now, the body parts apparently belong to an unidentified 59-year-old woman and a 53-year-old man. The names of the victims have not been released, but what happened was these guys somehow or another got a hold of these bodies. Ooh, we just found 2 dead bodies, and hacked them all up, and then went around in parks and just left a leg here, a hand here, a head over here. It was like Easter egg for crazy people. Easter hunting.
What else are you supposed to do in that situation, though,
right?
Glenn? I mean, if you're just walking around, you see a body somewhere, you're going to hack it up, you're going to leave it in various parks.
Yeah,
that's just what you're going to do.
All 4. Now, remember, Hochul is putting National Guard, kind of an extreme measure, in the subways. All 4 were charged on Wednesday with first-degree hindering prosecution, tampering with physical evidence, and concealment of a human corpse. They all pleaded not guilty. However, they have not been charged with the killing of the 2 victims, but the investigation is pending and more charges will be forthcoming. So what happened? They were charged and then ordered to not leave Suffolk County. And they're on supervised release now, So just people who are dismembering people.
They can still walk around Suffolk County and do what they need to do within. They just shouldn't leave Suffolk County.
Right, and they're not going to.
Well, it's good because, I mean, how else are you going to find these bodies, right? You need people out there looking for these bodies to find them and hack them up and put them in different parks if they just happen to come across another dead one.
Now, let me ask you, wouldn't it be better to put the people who are charged with crimes even grisly, heinous crimes into jail and not let them right back out on the street. I'm just saying, that's an idea.
Well, I think the problem with that idea is that bodies are going to pile up everywhere. We are already going to see this happening in Nassau County now that they can't cross the line. What's going to happen over there?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Let me give another story. Florida sheriff says that he found evidence that illegal aliens were using federal flight vouchers in order to aid human trafficking across the U.S. border during a law enforcement operation. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judge applauded his deputies for arresting 228 people during a massive multi-agency operation named Operation March Sadness 2024. Among those arrested in the operation were teachers, coaches, medical professionals, active military service members, and 21 illegal aliens. So at least there weren't those 4 people that were chopping people up in the park. He came out and said, we have a crisis at the border. And because of the crisis at the border, we have people that are victimizing illegal folks, forcing them into the sex trade. Because we allow these criminals into the country illegally. We all rail about it, but nobody does anything. Judge said one suspect had brought 3 female illegal aliens to Florida from New York. They said when they came into the country illegally, the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, gave them a form, an ID, paperwork, and allowed them to fly for free anywhere in America. You know how Southwest Airlines will let your bags fly for free? Federal government will let your illegal immigrants fly for free, said the sheriff. The victim said they were forced to pay back $3,000 to the female human trafficker under the threat of violence. They tell us that they fly into major metro centers for free on the federal government's dime, whether they set up their appointment for and then they set up their appointments for sex all over the country. So we know this is happening. As I told you last hour, we know fentanyl is coming in over the border, and it's all done by China. In fact, China just found this old recipe, and they're making it. Now, it was discovered in the 1950s as a pain relief agent, and doctors saw it because it is like first-time addiction and possible death. When it's made in the lab under the right circumstances, they said there was no medical reason for this to ever be made. And so it went back into the shelf of the pharmaceutical companies back in 1950-something. And just guess who just found it? China. And so now they're making it, and they're making it for all of the lovely people that are coming across from the drug cartels into our country. Isn't that great? Is Biden going to talk about any of this? Any of it? He's going to talk about the border tonight in his State of the Union address, and he's going to blame it on the Republicans. They just didn't want to solve the problem. No, what you wanted to solve was something we've debated about for decades now. Do we just make everybody a citizen? No, that's not what we were trying to solve. We're trying to solve the invasion from the southern and now northern border from places like China. But he's not going to talk about that. He has to blame the Republicans because when you talk about drugs and all the people that are dying of fentanyl, there's only one person to blame. The Chinese getting into bed with the drug cartels, intentionally doing an opium war on us. And who's responsible for that happening? Anybody who allows illegals and the drug cartels to rule our border. That's the president. But he can't say anything. Get this. Newly disclosed emails show a Chinese businessman who partnered with Hunter Biden's Burnham firm was primarily motivated by access rather than financial considerations, bolstering the House Oversight Committee's contention that the Biden name was the commodity. Now, this is quite amazing. It was found, Just the News is reporting this, and it was part of the testimony of the Oversight Committee. And Hunter Biden had business meetings with his firm and another firm run by, I think his name is Henry Zhao. And they were looking to merge Burnham, that's his firm, with Harvest, which is the Chinese Communist Party firm. And they were going to get all kinds of access to the markets. Okay, nobody has ever been given this kind of access to Chinese markets before, ever. Not Goldman Sachs, no one. He got it. And nobody was really asking why. How did that happen? Okay, so the team, Hunter's team, wanted to let Zhao know that we're on track for some really good things and a kind of a thank you after this meeting. Here is the letter. We're excited by the prospect of being able to work side by side with Harvest by way of a globally recognized platform. Please pass along my regards to Henry and know them that and tell him that what we discussed during our last lunch together in Beijing still holds true. And Michael, please also remind Henry of our conversation about a board seat for a certain relation of mine. Devin and I golfed with that relation earlier last week, and we discussed this very idea again, and as always, he remains very keen on the opportunity. Now, he also admitted under oath this last week that, yes, the big guy is his dad. This isn't some small crime. There are 133 Chinese that have come across our border in the last 3 years. 30,000 of them since October. We don't know who they are. These are the ones we caught. All military-aged men. In fact, there are now more Chinese people coming in, not families, Chinese guys coming in across the border in California than Mexicans. And are we doing anything to stop it? No. The Biden administration, for some reason, said, look, we just got to shorten this. There's 44 questions that you have to ask, if you stop an illegal alien. 44 questions. Let's narrow that down. I think it's to 7. 7 questions. From 44 to 7. But only for the Chinese. What? Why? You need to know that in the State of the Union tonight, he's not going to tell you anything that is real. It's going to be blame, but know that something is very, very wrong. And when you talk about crime, he's probably going to say that crime has gone down. Remember the National Guard that Hochul has just put into the subways. Why would they do that if crime was going down, if crime was fine? What Republican has had anything to do with New York or Chicago in forever? So how does that work? How are cities collapsing under the weight because they are sanctuary cities? How is that the fault of the Republican Party? I'm not looking for fault. I'm looking for someone to actually fix it. And this administration is doing nothing but empowering all the people that would love to see us live in chaos.